Hello and welcome to another series on my channel called The Most Hated in K-pop, where I'm going to be covering idols that are some of the most controversial. This series isn't intended to exonerate or defend these idols, it's more of a deep dive into what led up to these groups or idols becoming one of the most disliked in K-pop. My biggest inspiration for this series and where I wanted to start was Amber Liu from the K-pop group FX. It's not only her though, I have more ideas, but if you have any suggestions for who you'd like me to cover, then feel free to leave it in the comments below. Amber Liu was only 16 when she debuted in FX, with very little time training for the group. She is Taiwanese and was born and grew up in California. Lee Soo-man has always tried to appeal to the Chinese market through K-pop. He has always believed that they are the key to K-pop's future and success. In the second episode of TVN's monthly Connect, Lee Soo-man shared his belief that China must open their doors to Korea once again. All of the talented Korean producers, including JYP Entertainment's JY Park and Big Hit Entertainment's Bang Si-hyuk, should enter the Chinese market to create Asia's Hollywood. And Amber's addition to FX alongside other member Victoria is one of Lee Soo-man's many attempts to achieve this. Amber's persona as an idol is both crafted out of inspiration from Black and Chinese girl groups. In an appearance on Just Kidding News, Amber confirms this, explaining, "The way that I was hearing it from multiple people was that I was scouted because of this tomboyish type of singer in China who was huge, so he wanted to replicate that. That famous singer was no other than Ella Chen from the Taiwanese girl group She. On the other hand, the influence from Black girl groups has more to do with her position in the group as a rapper." Amber's skills at rapping were very limited. Sometimes there are idol rappers who can carry a few lines naturally and come off like they're good at it, but when it came to Amber, she couldn't really do that. She mostly would just say random English words instead of rapping. It was more talk singing, and in present day, many claim that Amber's strange English verses throughout FX's discography taints a lot of the group's best songs. In 2015, Amber's talent would be put up to the test as she was given the opportunity to go solo. Amber's solo debut was one of mixed reactions and that of little chart success in Korea. Her solo debut album was called Beautiful and featured the likes of Girls' Generation's Taeyeon and Eric Nam. It was released in 2015 with the title track Shake That Brass. The music video for Shake That Brass was a star-studded event with other acts in the Korean entertainment world like Miss A, members Min and Taeyeon and Hyoyeon, Jackson Wang, Ellen from Crayon Pop, Woori from Rainbow, and Aaron from NU'EST, and many more. This drew attention to Amber's solo debut and made K-pop stans excited to see all their favourite idols interact in one music video. You know, kind of like the YouTube Rewind of K-pop music videos. And if you know anything about the history of YouTube Rewind, you'll know that eventually it became too gimmicky and people just didn't want them anymore. And that was the problem that Shake That Brass had. I mean, this is supposed to be Amber's solo. Why are there so many celebrity cameos when her debut should be about her? I admit it was sweet when other idols would fill in for Taeyeon's part whenever Amber would perform live, so we got to enjoy a wide range of different takes on Taeyeon's part, and I'm sure all the third generation stans are feeling nostalgic right now remembering this. But again, this becomes an issue because why is Taeyeon's part and who fills in for her now people's favourite and most memorable part of the song? On Taemin, Wendy, Baekhyun and even Henry's debut solo album, there were no features on their title tracks and all the attention was put on them. One of SM's most famous solo artists, Taeyeon, had a feature on the title track of her debut album, and that got me thinking, okay, so what's different? Why does it hurt Amber when she features someone on her debut title track and not Taeyeon? And the sad truth is that I think it's because Taeyeon is more famous than Amber. Taeyeon barely even sung in Shake That Brass, and Verbal Jint had a whole entire verse on I. And yet Verbal Jint never outshined Taeyeon or overpowered her. He was brought on board for the song to contribute to its atmosphere, but on the other hand, Taeyeon was brought along to sing a few short lines on Shake That Brass because SM weren't confident Amber would be able to sell albums without the help of a more more popular senior artist. Amber was being presented as some kind of girl who just knew other famous people instead of her own person. This became a theme throughout Amber's career. She was always collaborating, and while I don't think it's a bad thing to make art with other people, especially because K-pop is an amalgamation of creative directors, multiple producers and songwriters, so it would be hypocritical of me to shun Amber for doing this. However, the point I'm trying to make is that this didn't help establish her as a solo act. In the beginning of a K-pop idol's solo career, it's important to show the public you have what it takes to exist without your group. And because Amber started her solo career by constantly integrating herself in other friend groups and other collaborators, it wasn't enough to prove she could exist outside of her role within FX or without other people. Her role in FX was to add a tomboy twist to FX style and concept. Throughout the 2010s, FX was slowly becoming SM's edgiest girl group, who were more out of the box and experimental compared to SM's previous pure and classic take on girl groups. While Amber may have debuted in FX because she had that image SM hoped to replicate for more success, it should be stated that Amber really was a tomboy, which was hard for people to understand because as K-pop stans we all know that images are crafted, and many thought that Amber being androgynous was just something that was manufactured. This was all disproven in 2017 when Amber went viral for a new video on her YouTube channel responding to negative comments titled "Where is my chest?" that challenged people's narrow-minded view of women. Later on in 2017, she was invited to do an interview with the BBC about the video, in which she clarified, "I think what a lot of people misunderstand that me being a tomboy or being androgynous is not a concept, that's me." Being part of K-pop's more unique girl groups, a lot of the members of FX were subject to harsh and sometimes unwarranted hate comments and opinions. Amber, who was the target of misogyny due to her being more androgynous than most K-pop female idols, who were expected to be dainty and feminine. Amber's unwillingness to stand down against the traditional confines of beauty standards for women and speaking out against others who disapproved of who she was, started to build an image that Amber was in fact a progressive K-pop idol. In the more recent years, people came to hate Amber's solo debut Shake That Brass and claimed that it was one of the worst songs in K-pop. Amber's affiliation to a beloved girl group like FX also didn't save her from criticism. But was it always this way? Did people really think everything Amber contributed to FX was awful from the very beginning? No. This wasn't always the popular opinion among K-pop stans. This only came about in present day due to the controversy that ruined her image forever. It's one of the only instances I can think of where a celebrity was close to being actually cancelled and unable to recover forever. The moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to discuss Amber's infamous appearance on Just Kidding News. This video in its entirety has literally been scrubbed off the internet. I cannot find it anywhere. So what I'm explaining is mostly quotes from articles that covered this controversy. The video I'll be speaking over is another video they did with her. In the video, she reacts and gives commentary on a video of a black man being mistreated and harassed by the police. Her commentary on this video was bizarre and completely convinced of her flawed worldview in which she is defending the police in this situation. She states, "I think he just fucking deserved it because he's being super disrespectful. It's like you don't have to act like that towards a police officer," which was alarming for most and upsetting for those who liked Amber. And to add salt to injury, this incident happened only a few months away until the BLM movement came back into prominence, but on a grander scale than it ever had in the early 2010s. The aftermath was catastrophic and was one of the first times I had seen the whole entire K-pop community turn on someone. For 3 days, Amber's name was trending on Twitter and her apology just made the story even bigger. The reason people were so harsh on Amber was due to her being an American. Having lived in America, many expected her to be someone who has experience interacting with other cultures and understanding at least the bare minimum about racism. What a lot of people didn't know is that Amber had been working in Asia for many years and had most likely lost touch with the reality of America, considering she doesn't live there anymore. The progressive image that Amber was associated with because of her outspoken rebuttal against misogyny was destroyed. Amber's solo debut wasn't really that impactful in Korea, and now American K-pop stans were refusing to support her ever again, turning her legacy in K-pop into a complete joke. The first meme was the Blame Amber for Everything meme, in which stans joked that whatever bad thing happened to their fave was all the fault of Amber Liu. These memes became so popular during the reveal of G-Dragon and Jennie dating. Fans joked Amber was the one who took all the photos that were leaked through Dispatch, in which Amber responded false, finally putting her foot down. There was also a meme that Amber was pregnant, which enraged Amber. The next viral meme I remember was the joke that Amber was similar to that of Officer Spectre, a LGBT character from the animated movie Onward, in which they edited Amber to look like her. I was around when this meme was created, but I can't really remember why it was created or the joke, so if you remember, please explain it to me in the comments, because I really want to remember the meaning, if there is any. Another meme I remember was during the Doja Cat alt-right chat room controversy. Many edited Amber into these chats and claimed that Amber was also involved. I literally can't find this edit anywhere, but if you remember this meme, then you remember. By 2022, the only time you will see Amber's name being mentioned in anything is her being the fault of some random scandal, her song Shake That Brass being terrible, and her verses on FX's music being terrible. One of the things I saw that solidified Amber's new status as one of the most disliked K-pop idols to me the most was reading that people had an issue with Amber being candid about her time in the K-pop industry and what she suffered as a result of it. Look, this may be unpopular among certain stans, but I think it's wrong that people interpret the morality of K-pop as a black and white issue. I find it annoying when people who dislike K-pop due to either misogynistic or racist reasons can only acknowledge its dark side. But I also find it annoying when sometimes K-pop stans can't see past K-pop's bright side and lash out against former K-pop idols who have had negative experiences in the K-pop industry. In reality, the K-pop industry has a bright side and a dark side, and it's probably for the best for the idols if we remember to acknowledge both. Calling out Amber for her racist beliefs was correct and the right thing to do, but calling out Amber for holding back tears in an interview where she's talking about the devastating loss of her bandmate Sully and the traumatic life she lived in K-pop is just strange and goes to show a lot of stans just hate Amber because it's a popular opinion rather than solely hating on her because she's a racist. Amber is not the first or the last K-pop idol to have shared racist beliefs, but I find it fascinating that she's the only one who has really been cancelled for it. That brings up an interesting topic that I've seen debated quite a lot over the past few years or so. Do some idols get away with problematic things easier because they are more conventionally attractive or more famous? Well, I thought about this, and yes, I think this is true to a certain degree. Some K-pop idols can get away with anything heinous or even go as far to do blackface and get away with it scotch-free, either because they'll be able to survive off their Korean fans who don't care, or some international fans will try to excuse them based on how useful they are. Now, when I say how useful an idol is, I'm talking about whether that idol is good looking or really talented, to the point people just can't let go of them because they're useful to a group or their solo work is useful to many people. If you're an idol that's useful, give it 5 working days and people will either forget it or get over it. But if you're not a useful idol and are unconventional or were never seen as an important player in your group, then problematic scandals will follow you forever. Besides this being one of the many reasons Amber couldn't recover, another thing we have to remember is that Amber's situation is unique to many other idols, so we have to take that into account too. Firstly, Amber isn't Korean, and being a non-Korean K-pop idol makes it hard to make it big in K-pop. Her solo debut was never going to be big in Korea because foreign idols don't really make it big solo in K-pop. If you look at the majority of foreign solo K-pop idols like Jackson Wang or even someone like Yukika, you'd see that these idols either rely on K-pop's Western market or their own home country's market to keep going. Yukika is one of those idols who probably wouldn't be able to make it in Korea due to her being Japanese, but she could use the platform K-pop gives her to promote herself abroad to Western consumers of K-pop who don't really care care where she's from. Where Amber fits into this is that the racism controversy completely shut her out of the Western market, which was one of the lucrative markets she had ties to. Amber's original plan was to make it in America somehow, but because of how serious people took her nasty racist comments, she was barred for life. But if Amber was Korean and didn't rely on her American roots every step of the way in her career, kind of like fellow FX member Crystal, maybe the fallout would have been overlooked and her recovery would have been a lot easier. So after all of this, where is Amber today? Is she still one of the most hated in K-pop? Yes, she kinda is. Amber eventually left SM Entertainment that same year of the racism controversy and moved to a new label where she had more freedom, Steel Wool. In 2021 she released her first full album Y, and in 2022 she released her follow-up album Z. While she wasn't working at SM anymore, she still fell back into her old ways. I find that due to Amber's poor skill at rapping and her flat kind of generic voice, she still hasn't proven to me that she is a worthy solo artist. The only time she makes it work is when she is featured or someone else is featured on her songs, a problem she had while she was at SM. It's true that some artists just work better with others when they make art rather than on their own. I mean, look at Charli XCX. But the thing with Amber is that I can't imagine her becoming a successful solo artist on her own merits if she didn't start in FX. Charli may have better results through collaboration, but she proved years ago that she could make great things alone. Nowadays, Amber seems to have focused her efforts into China since the end of her run in America. She appears on Chinese shows and releases music that is more Mandopop adjacent than K-pop. It's the last market she has left after losing the Korean and American one. I've heard that FX members still refer to the group being alive despite all of the members being done with SM Entertainment. The story of Amber Liu and how she ended up becoming one of the most hated K-pop idols is a cautionary tale. A cautionary tale for big K-pop companies who want nothing more than to break into America or places like Europe. If you want to do that, then those on your team and your idols need to understand the cultural norms and what is acceptable in such markets. And it's not crazy or forcing Western ideals amongst K-pop idols when we expect them to accommodate the people they want to make money from. If these companies don't want to do that, then that's fine. Just know that there are consequences and you will have to pay the price for those consequences. And that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching.